Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf with UPRNtalkradio.com. Watch and listen to PNL Podcast every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern with a YouTube live chat watch party with me, your host Jen, and a few BOG team members. For tonight's great pyramid episode on UPRN segment number 88, I've got a special guest waiting backstage from England and a co-host guest from North Carolina who I'll bring on shortly. Now it's time to grab your favorite hot summer beverage, a few metaphysical munchies, and get ready for that show tonight. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team, a boots-on-the-ground BOG team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland, Canada. Now, if you find yourself coming back to the show and you like the content, please smash that subscribe button. Gratitude, folks. It all helps. Grab your PNL Podcast and BOG Team merch at TeePublic on our Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. All BOG Team music heard in the intro and the exit is available on all streaming music and social media platforms for download. PNL Podcast believes in supporting international paranormal networking and highlighting global paranormal people, places, and things. Now, I'd like to give a shout out to who I heard about this guest from. I'm going to give a shout out to Quantum Health Ascension metaphysical podcaster, Miss Karen Holton, who was on PNL Podcast Season 4, Episode 12, UPRN Seg 72. Check her out. Now I'm going to bring on the stage our co-host tonight. We have Mr. Rob Shelsky, all the way from North Carolina. Welcome back, Rob.
Hi, it's good to be back again.
Good to see you. So for the folks listening in around the world on UPRN, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Rob Shelsky. I'm an author. I write a lot of books about UFOs, time travel, the Mandela effect, and cryptids, as well as other books. I have like 82 books now. 83. I just got a new one. And you can get me at Amazon, Kindle, or wherever. And I really enjoy being on these shows because I get to talk to people I wouldn't get to talk to otherwise.
Well, thanks for co-hosting again tonight. We're glad to have you back. Now, here's our main stage lady, well, I've got you down here as Miss Jen Hann. Welcome. Now, that's a pen name, but I'm not going to say your real name, right?
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome. Now, you're coming in all the way from England, right, Jen?
That's right. That's correct. Yes.
Yes. Tell the folks listening around the world, Jen, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I will say that I worked in London for about 11 years when I started at the age of 18. And then I came up to Herefordshire, which is a rural county. And my life changed altogether in this surroundings. I'm an ET contactee, which happened in this area. So I'll be telling you about that in a minute. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate it. So, Jen, take us back to where it all started. And that all started in fashion, didn't it?
Yes, that's right. That's correct. I worked for Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and a boutique exclusive, which was in Knightsbridge, which was for pregnant ladies. And I was also a designer for Ladybird and various other ones. And then I had my own boutique afterwards. And then I got married and we wanted some children. So we came up here and that's how it happened.
Awesome. So do you miss the fashion stuff?
Not now. That's material world. I'm now in the spiritual world. I've done a jump up.
So you said that you were an experiencer. So do you want to take us back to where some of this happened?
Yeah, I will. Yes. So I will say from the very beginning, the scenery took my breath away. I felt privileged to live here. It was a patchwork of natural beauty, green hills and golden valleys, wild flowers and healing herbs, luscious fruits and berries, a land of milk and honey. It was here in this mythical landscape that my brush with immortality began. At this juncture in my life, I wanted to ask God what his plan is for humanity. After all, don't we all reach a moment where we ask, why are we here? I reflected on a time when the rain poured into my heart without pause. I thought of the homeless and the suffering and the anguish. And then I heard of a nuclear war. Now, this is a good time to talk about it, really. And this nuclear war that I was worried about was a few years ago. On this particular evening, my husband had the television on. A speaker was solemnly instructing, take out the doors and prop them against the walls. This will help prevent them from falling on you. This was the advice that was given to us to prepare for the nuclear war. I asked my husband if it was a joke. He said, no, quietly. That night, I didn't sleep. In fact, it was for 3 nights that I stayed awake, gripped by fear. For my daughters, for all of us. Then I saw an article about underground shelters fully equipped with survival kits for 3 months. Nearly £10,000, but no need to resurface for weeks. That was it. My answer is that we need to survive. I couldn't wait to tell Ian, my husband. He agreed. He said we had just enough money to build a shelter beneath the back garden. That night, I slept very well for the first half. And then a troubling thought awoke me. What will happen when we resurface? how many others will still be alive? Will the world still be habitable or poisoned? And once again, I was in despair. I got angry. I had brought my daughters into this world under God's loving and protection. It felt like my sacred duty to give them a safe, loving start to life. As a mother, I would do anything to keep them from harm. But I was stunned. Why wasn't God doing anything to prevent humanity from self-destruction? I wrestled with God for days and nights, asking, how can a loving, caring God allow this? Why, God, do you permit such things? Where are you in all of this? Little did I realize that this wrestling match was to be the beginning of an immense fair with God. It lasted 3 years, although my family would say it has never truly ended.
So, Jen, like you had a big scare, and you reached out to God and looked for an answer.
That's right. This one is if you like, it's a little bit of a religious type of one. It's to do with God and how I asked, as you hear, for help, and how I believe with this contactee that I think it answered my question.
Now, you made, we forgot to mention about your wedding dress. How
Yes.
you, did you want to talk a little bit about that? Is that related to what you're going to talk about next?
A little bit. So I will say that when I was getting married, I decided to undo a nun's outfit. And I turned my wedding dress, and people were telling me afterwards that that is a sign of a calling, and it sure was, because this is a calling that happened.
Yes.
So a few days later, shall I carry on now?
Rob, did you have a question? You're frozen, by the way, Rob.
I know I'm frozen. I don't know why. I wasn't when we started, but I'm frozen now.
Okay. It's so cold out.
Yeah.
You got your popsicles out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I do have a question. What do you think about all of the things that you've been through, and what are your conclusions? I mean, have you formed some kind of final result about how you relate to life and God and how you feel about the world in general?
Yeah, is this me? Yes. So yes, it's all about.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine. Yes.
Yes,
are you using Chrome, Rob? I think he's going to go and come back. Yeah. So you can continue. He's just going to go and come back.
Okay. Yes. Right. So yes, it does. It does involve God. I think that at the end of it, through all the stages I went through, that I definitely had my answer. To me, God got the calling, if you like, from me, and I think that He gave me a result for it as well. So a few days later, it was Tuesday, the 2nd of March, 1982. At precisely 10:45 p.m. I was driving along a narrow country road in Herefordshire with my 2 young daughters in the back seat, supposedly asleep. As I drove down this lane, my eldest daughter began talking to me. "What comes after 20, Mummy?" I was puzzled. "Do you mean 20, sweetheart, or do you mean 19? She shook her head. "It looks like this," and she started tracing an invisible shape in the air. I turned slightly to see her gesture more clearly, and it was precisely at this curve that something utterly bizarre caught my eye. To the left of the curve is a stile leading into a vast field bordered by the tall bushes. To right is the lane we were driving on, which stretches approximately 352 yards or 0.32 kilometers. At the end of the lane, a main road branches off, leading to the International Communication Satellite Station in Herefordshire. Now, as I turned onto the lane, I spotted some weird lights hovering above. They are clustered together in the front left corner of the field, suspended eerily in space. How do I know they were watching something on the main road, or perhaps beyond towards the satellite station? I can't say, but the feeling was overwhelming. These lights weren't random. They were aware. So this is something I think when I got home, and this is the first part. So this is like a cluster that you can see in the field there. And the time.
Okay.
So
wait, Rob, do you have a question about that picture?
Well, I mean, would you consider those standard UFO style lights, or do you consider them something more or something else entirely?
with these lights, they were definitely different. And I will tell you, in the UK, this particular time, if you did talk to, I didn't even know what an alien was. I didn't know what a UFO was. I didn't know what a satellite was. And I'm sure that I was just the average person in the UK, because, you know, if I'd have spoken too much about it, I think people would have thought I was crazy. So I had to keep it to myself for a long time. But it gave me that long time. It gave me time to do some research to actually get to the beginning of it, the heart of the matter. Suddenly the lights turned and sped towards us. It took them 3 to 5 seconds to cross the diagonal stretch of the field, roughly 440 yards. Even at 5 seconds, their velocity was around 180 miles per hour. These intelligent lights came across in a cluster, yet they were separate entities. The cluster was staggered, as if their speeds varied. Here they are, alongside the hedge that separated us from the field. Spontaneously, as if they'd spoken with each other, they spread out into a long line without bumping into each other. And this is the picture that I did when I got home. So you can see what they look like.
Okay. So
That's
they're all
weird.
kind of spread out like that. And those squiggly lines going down from them, what is that?
So those then, so this is what these lights, yes, what they did spontaneously, as if they'd spoken with each other, they spread out in a long line without bumping into each other. Then a patter, raindrops tapped against the car's window. Mist rolled in with these lights. So that was a mist between the two eyes.
Okay.
Well, excuse me. What you saw all this, and what did you feel at the time?
Well, I'm just about to tell you how I wanted to be scared, but for some reason, they stopped me from being scared. They probably saw the shock, actually. So a mist rolled in with these lights, shrouding the lane in a hazy, dreamlike atmosphere. The lights, about 6 of them, were now traveling alongside us, just 3 to 4 meters between us. Hovering 6 to 8 feet above the ground, each entity was composed of 2 bright circular white lights, approximately the size of a car's headlight, joined by a glowing fuzzy stem resembling vapor or plasma. The stems pulsed and swayed, not rigid, they were alive with energy. They were there, peering straight at us, inquisitive beings with glowing eyes. And despite the shock, I could feel it here. My presence was almost hypnotic. I sensed no menace, only gentle, intelligent curiosity. Now, I just want to stop that bit there, and I want to show you in here that I looked them up to see what these things could be, and I discovered, so I'm just going to show you those in there, so that you just knows, haven't you? Yes.
Okay.
That's
Kind of
those.
reminds me of those War of the Worlds things with the legs.
Yeah, me too. It does me too.
Right?
What did you say?
It reminds me of War of the Worlds, those things with the legs.
Wow. So here,
The tripods.
Tripods, yes.
Yeah.
tripods. So I will tell you, so it's great that you tell me these things because I'm grasping to understand them properly. But I did find, and I think it's somewhere in Utah, this is on a cave.
Okay. Now, when you saw them, Jan, were they making any kind of noise?
I was in the car. That's the only thing I don't know.
Right.
Because the windows were up because it was causing like raindrops. I will tell you that these are thousands and thousands of years old. They're on an ancient cave painting.
So that's similar to what you saw and experienced.
Yeah, I think it is. Do you? I mean, okay, they've got above the eyes, they've got it goes up higher. I wouldn't have known that because they were 6 to 8 feet off the ground. I'm going along in the car, so I wouldn't really see because they were really strong light. So I wouldn't really see if they went up above the eyes.
Okay.
But
Now, you did sense some intelligence from them?
Definitely. So
How big were they?
I
mean, you're visually looking at them. How, like, were they? You're looking out of the car. I mean, how far away were they, and how big did they appear to you at that distance?
They were 3 meters away from me because I went down there several times after with my husband, and we measured all this stuff out. They were the other side of this hedge, and the hedge itself was directly against the road, and they were 3 meters away from me. So I'll just tell you how they made me feel. Shock, actually. I didn't feel fear. Their presence was almost hypnotic. I sensed no menace, only gentle, intelligent curiosity. And I will say to you, the only thing that I could get, not by sound, but by
Telepathy?
Yeah,
They could read your mind?
Yes, absolutely. I will tell you how
you were communicating with them?
Yes, they were communicating to me. I was just suffering from shock, really. And it came across that they were the same wavelength that I was on, only far more powerful and than I was. And it was just like, and they could understand me because they were on the same wavelength, but they were more powerful than I was. So therefore, they were sort of taking me over, really. And they were saying to me in the interaction, don't worry, we're not going to hurt you. We're just curious. That's exactly what it came across. So we went.
I'm sorry, but what do you think they were? I'm trying to get to that. I mean,
I have
aliens, angels, or what?
The angels. I'll just tell you, we rode down the lane in a parallel line, and it was a long lane with my head turned towards them. We reached the end. I turned left on the main road. Moments later, a flash burst into the field center. Then another. Two explosions of light illuminated the entire field, and just like that, they were gone. And do you know what? I never saw them again, but I drove on, stunned with my daughters asleep in the back seat. After settling the girls in bed, I drew a picture, which you've seen, and then rang the local police. Look, love, the officer said, we have enough trouble with natural, never mind the supernatural. Try the airbase. They might be.
So this was what year was this?
This is 1982.
82. Yeah.
And it went until this is springtime, and March the 2nd, this particular bit. But all this before with God, I had, wrestling with God was a few days later, a few earlier. And then it actually ended all of this in November 1984. It was a 3-year thing. So the next thing is that I will tell you that Ian and I went to visit the airbase first. I'll just tell you this. However, we were informed that it was out of service and had been for a considerable time. The officer's response were, "Please always send people here." Same story, time and time again. So I wasn't the only one. On our way home, we returned to the field, hoping to find evidence of what had happened. However, there were no scorch marks, nothing strange, except in the centre of the field, there was a small pool of water where the flashes had burst. Nevertheless, what had unsettled me the most was the spectacle. It was personal. These weren't passive, but interactive. They had stunned me, and I felt numb for the next few days. I just want to say there, and I don't want to tell you what they are, but I will tell you that to me, it doesn't seem that I have never heard since then. I've been looking these things up and all sorts, doing research on them all the years, and it seems that they don't shoot people, they don't stab people, they don't knock people over. It seems to me that they're really curious and perhaps even inclined to advise or help, but that's only my interpretation. Really. So since then, I looked them up. I looked up to see what they were. They didn't seem to fit an alien. They didn't seem to fit in one of these flying saucers. And then one day I found the and these angels, I never saw them again, but they were definitely with me. They never left me. They were doing what I wanted to do. They were making sure that I found the true God and why. So I found this, which is 9 different angels. So, and the only one that I could see was like that was this one. The only one there is all of them is different, but it's that one, eyes, because it's got eyes. And then I found out in Egypt that they have, they're called seraphim. And seraphim, they are angels. And they belong in according to that, second level down from God, apparently. Seraphims, there's cherubims, seraphims, and then they go down the line. But this one's the second one.
Aren't archangels above the seraphim?
Are they?
Yeah, I think they are, like Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
Too bad we didn't have Dr. Judd Burton here to verify that. Maybe he can chime in on the live chat watch party and verify that. But so we're thinking angel. Did you say there was scorch marks on the grass? Yay or nay? Because the audio is a bit scratchy. I'm thinking you don't have your headset on or anything, or your earbuds, right?
So I found out that was the nearest, and usually, that is just an illustration from somebody that's obviously the artist has never seen serapins, because it doesn't really match. It's just got one eye, but they're always all eyes, these serapins, and that works very well with my encounter. So, and the next thing that happens is another thing. So I noticed that that they have apparently they are the beginning. When you see terrapins, they are the beginning of an ascent. And the beginning of an ascent is the beginning of an ascent to have an initiation. And that's exactly what happened afterwards. So I had an initiation, and they were the serapins that started it off. So after my intense plea for help with God, I had seen those lights, extraordinary beings. I asked God what he would do about all these dreadful things. And then I felt guilty and shameful because I had questioned God. Here I was after, as though there was something more profound. My energy was completely drained and my confidence had slipped away. Yet a strange longing bloomed within me. And all I could think about was religion. I asked God, where do I go from here? Which religion is the root? And there I stood once again, alone with the pain in my heart. Surely something had gone wrong. I whispered in my mind, God, where are you in all of this? Which religion is the right one? If I'm meant to follow a path, please show me. I sent this appeal upwards several days and nights. Where are you, God? On this particular morning, with my hand on my heart, I stood at the kitchen window. With trembling sincerity, I held out my arms and offered myself as a sacrifice to God. Well, actually, that word sacrifice has got nothing to do with blood. It's just really, I'm offering, whatever he needs, just so that I know him. And said, you say we can knock and the door will be opened. Well, dearest God, I'm knocking and I cannot knock any louder. To whom do I go to? Which church should I attend? Suddenly a reply came instantaneously. A distinct male voice answered, ask none of these, but follow me. I really love God. All the way through my childhood, you always used to trust God, but not once did he ever talk to me. Not once did he respond. So I asked, I was really frightened, who is there? Again, I heard the same voice. I am the Lord Jesus, trust in me, and I will show you the way. I was terrified. Jesus had always been my best friend since childhood, a relationship I hope would last forever, but never before had he spoken to me. No inner voice addressed me directly like this one. I was petrified. My first instinct was to hold myself in a constant prayer, like breathing, and that seemed to ignite a turning point. Suddenly, I poured everything out I had into my prayer, looking up at the sky from the kitchen windows with arms wide open. I spoke aloud, dearest God, take me, take all of me, use me as you will. I ask you in return, dearest God, give me back just that little bit that knows that you are there. And if you will, dearest God, I will offer it to others, so that they too may share in it, but only if you will it, and not of my own accord. Perhaps it was the rawness with which I prayed, desperate and devoted, but immediately something spontaneously happened. It was as though I had touched a divine switch, because at once there came a loud swirl of repent in my ears, and at the exact moment a fresh all down on the top of my head. I was driven down onto the floor until I lay flat on the floor. I had surrendered to an invisible force. I was stunned and completely overcome. Now, I want to tell you, having in the last few weeks, having podcasts, I've heard of somebody called Chris Bledsoe, and Chris read his book because he sounded as if it was very familiar to mine. And sure enough, at this particular point in my experience, he has that experience as well. So this to me is really sort of personal, and a little bit worried what think, but he had exactly the same thing happen. He was pushed down by a lady. That lady is Mary. So Mary must be Catholic, and I'm not Catholic. I am, Christian, but not Catholic. And so I saw Jesus and he and Mary. In other words, whichever one that you trust in a sort of a spiritual, holy way is the one that you will see. So, if I'd have been one, it would have been another one, like I would have seen Allah, or whatever their sons are and stuff. So that is, I've only found that out in the last couple of weeks, and it makes me feel better to say it, because he had it happen exactly the same. And he was told by this lady, which he called the lady, she said she was going to help him now. And mine just said, follow me.
So, Jen, this was a very religious experience for you. You talked to God, asked for an answer. You saw these beings come down. You researched it. You thought maybe they were related to the seraphim, the image that you showed me with the eyes, and related to that's why you related to the pyramids in relation to your book, correct?
Oh, I did look up something. Seraphim are the highest ones.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for doing that. That's great.
Thanks.
Sure.
So the next. Oh, yes. Look at that. So the next thing is.
So do these things, Jen? Do you think these things live at the pyramids, or?
Oh, well, I don't know, but they have a sort of a cave or a tomb, I think it is, and they found their seraphim boxes there, right on the Giza Plateau, I think it is, or near anyway. So,
why do you think they're related to the pyramids? I didn't catch that.
Because I was taken there. This is the next bit. You see, what happens next is I have no idea what they were going to do with me. But the next thing is that I got up, because the next thing is the pressure went off the top of my head, and I seemed to be gently being pulled up. And when it was pulled up, in my window was a rainbow, beautiful rainbow. And then as I watched it, it became a double rainbow. And now in the Bible, a rainbow is always said to be God's promise. So I knew then that I was safe, because the rainbow had come into a double one as well. It was a God's promise. So that's how I took it as well. And I will tell you, I took that.
Jen, do you do astral projection?
Well, this is the next bit that happens. Absolutely. This is the next bit that's going to happen. It's crazy, isn't it? I didn't know it's called astral projection, because afterwards I stepped back from the southeast kitchen window and took 3 steps towards the northeast, facing dining room entrance. Then something absolutely frightening happened. As I turned towards the dining room, it felt as though I had stepped into or had been moved into a different zone. It was just like magnetic, a magnet was pulling me in a particular direction. A creepy sensation enveloped me. You know that feeling when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? It was like that, but more. Something invisible had again invaded my personal space. This strange presence felt like an enormous invisible magnet. It had waited silently for me to turn in the right precise direction, and the moment it pounced. It was just like a huge bird pounced on the top of my head, and I knew that I was in trouble. And I was absolutely, as if, I'd been put into a coma, if you like, really. I had nothing. in it. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. Something that I couldn't see has got hold of me, and there's something that's going to happen. So the next thing is I waited silently for the direction, and then this pounced. It latched on the top of my head, and it locked itself there. I couldn't move. There was no way of escape. This presence was more real than reality itself. I kept saying, "You've got the wrong person." Honestly, I'm a woman. I feel this is too big for me. I'm too puny. I'm too weak. I'm not the right person for whatever he wants for. But it wasn't listening to me. Well, not really. Something had been decided and a deal had been struck. Then in came paralysis, a complete suspended animation, and then another pounce. This time it came with a clunk click. I've heard people, after been doing all this research, exactly the same. It must give you a clunk click. Hear it. Just like a metallic clamp. It felt like I was wearing a tight magnetic cap. And my essence, my stuffing was gradually being pulled out of me. I was being teased into two parts. An outside observer might say it was just as if a giant bird had pounced on its prey and then rose into flight, carrying it skyward. That's exactly what I thought was happening. Then one, I will say that this, I've looked it up, is called, I've not only never been to Egypt, but not in the physical, but I will tell you that a guide on there who comes on my Facebook, he works on guide on the Giza Plateau. I told him about the click on the top of the head, and and he said that what has happened to you is, he said, that your seraphim started the initiation up, and then the bar, which is BA, which is the soul, is then pulled up out.
Okay.
And he says that bar will go clunk click as it clamps onto the head, and then it will pull out your spiritual body, which you can call your energy body, or you can call it your electrical energy. They're all the same thing. But it was taking this any part of me, and in religion you will call it dual embodiment, because you have been split into two parts. One part is the part that stays here, and it carries on with the household and the material, domestic work and everything in the material world. But the other one is gone off with this huge bird, which apparently in Egyptian hieroglyphs, it's shown as a bird. It's shown as a human being, and the head of it is a bird. And he says that it is the Ba, and they call it the soul. And that he says
excuse me, but who calls it the Ba?
It was a guide in Egypt, you said?
Well, isn't that the Ka? I thought that was the Ka. The soul was the Ka.
Either what the Ka. This he said is the Ba.
Ka.
And it's shown as a human being with a head of a bird. And he said, "Where did it take you?" He said, "Because they take you places." And I said, "It took me to the Great Pyramid." And he went back in his armchair, because this was on a Zoom thing. And he said, "Wow." And then, so that's exactly what happened.
So I'm looking it up, and it says in ancient Egyptian belief, the soul was not a single entity, but a complex, multi-part concept. The Ka and the Ba were two essential components, along with the physical body, needed to reunite after death to create a justified spirit, which is a KH that could live forever. The Ka, the life force, is called a vital spark. Now, you had said the Ba was lifted. The Ba was a personality and a soul. Depicted as a bird with a human head, the Ba represents an individual's unique personality, consciousness, character. Unlike the stationary Ka, the Ba is dynamic, mobile, capable of traveling between the world of living and the afterlife in the Duat, D-U-A-T, during the day. Interesting.
Sounds interesting, isn't it? Shall I carry on then, this last bit?
Well, actually, I have a question for you too. I
Yes.
mean, you went through all this, but I still haven't gotten kind of what I'm looking for. What is the final upshot of all this? Where you are now, how do you feel about this?
Yes,
What is
the final
okay.
upshot. The final upshot is I'm taking to the Great Pyramid, not just like in a minute or seconds. It took a few weeks. I'm traveling with this bird on top of me, and it took me to the Great Pyramid. And inside the Great Pyramid, I have to do the initiation ceremony, the most ancient initiation ceremony that ever took place on this planet. And it's inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, and that is what its true function is all about.
Now, on your book, I got a few more questions. It's depicted with the bird and the pyramid. To me, the color is red, and is that depicted flames around the pyramid?
Yes, absolutely, flames. Because
well, that's not a bird. I mean, not in the normal sense. That's a phoenix rising from the fire, isn't it?
Yes, that's a phoenix. That's a phoenix bird, because a phoenix bird is linked to the Great Pyramid. They're both linked together, and the phoenix bird is the one that comes back every so often, and then there's a renewal. So actually, that's depicting that we are beginning a new era. This is what's about happening. And the phoenix bird, which I saw in there as well, it came to it. He's saying the whole setup is that we're coming to a finalization, and we're now into a new era. And that's what it all means. That's fire. The phoenix is fire. So the next part is that the Great Pyramid of Giza is actually, I saw Jesus in the king's chamber after a lot of things that happened in there, the whole stages of the initiation ceremony. I found out that we are part fish in there because we come from the Sirius system. But yet, I will say a lot of people have said, that through podcasts, that, oh, yes, well, we got fish now, but we also, what about all the apes and all the rest of it? But I've discovered, and that's the last few days, is that, of course, I agree, everybody do tend to have, genes like apes. Yes, we've had those, we've been stuck them as well, and
but religions and cultures, Jen, all over the world talk about fish coming out of the water and giving knowledge.
Yes, yeah. So what happened to me, this is just one little part inside the Great Pyramid, is I had a consummation or a get together with a fish, and that fish was in the Queen's chamber, and it was shaft which leads to the Sirius system, and it started off as a whale, and then the whale became a dolphin, and the dolphin then came out of the screen that was in front of me, like being in the pictures, and it came out through the coast line with all the houses, and it came up, touched my left foot on the outside, came up to my knee, came up right up to my hip, and it was wet, and it was cloudy and cold, and it was shivery. And what happened was, it was a vibration, if you like, that was part of the transformation of the initiation ceremony. Now, there is somebody else that spoke on a podcast a few days ago, and she was saying that she was in bed, and that she felt that she had a strange experience where a fish came up her leg, I don't know whether it's the left or right, came up her leg at the side, and she said it came up to her thigh, and then she said, and it was a marvelous feeling. She's absolutely wonderful. And then she said that she turned her head into the right, to the window, and there in the window was Horus's eye. She said, I don't know what it has to do with Egypt. So this is exactly what I'm after with my book, because I think a lot of people don't realize that they have had part of the initiation ceremony, all of it, you know, because like me and everybody else, what is going on, you know, until somebody can tell you. And you're
now,
not
Jen, is that why the title is Birthright Inheritance? Now, there's several different titles on it. Birthright Inheritance.
Yes. So that is our birthright. Exactly. The Great Pyramid of Giza is the true temple, the oldest temple, and the one that sits smack bang in the center of the landmass, the planet's landmass, before that it was separated into continents. If you have it where it was in the beginning, where you have the landmass together, you have it before, when that way, put a pin down and you will have it on the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's the oldest building, and it's not built by human beings. And the other thing is that it is the true temple of God. That is our true temple of God. All the others are man-made. And that is what it is. The last bit to tell you is that's our birthright. And also we have the right to know all these things. And it's time that it happens, because what happens in there, God's temple, he will change your vibrations in there, because you'll need them when you want to move on, because our vibrations are too low. So we need to have them, and it doesn't, you can do all this, what people do to meditate, but they aren't the right vibrations. You need to get them from the Great Pyramid itself. At the same time, we have got inside us, I learned this too, we have got inside us, I've been calling it a template, but I think it's more like a blueprint or something other in the mind. But when we were created in the very, very beginning, we were given a template, or whatever you want to call it, inside us. And what we need to do is activate it. And that's what those seraphims did. They activated the initiation, if you like, so that I would understand where true God really is. At the same time, in my book, I will say that I was told that the Great Pyramid is the naval power on the planet, right in the center, becomes the navel. And peace on earth, which is Jerusalem, is all God's people on this planet. Everybody on this planet is God's people. Okay, somebody said to me, but then Jerusalem is not like that. And I said, well, I know. But I said, whatever that is, the city, but the real true city of God is peace on earth, which surrounds his temple. When I saw Jesus in the King's Chamber, all really shiny, bright white, and he said to me, he showed me his hands. He was just, he had just, if you like, been crucified. He had his shroud on, and he was showing me that he has risen. And he said that this temple, which was a great pyramid, he was in the King's Chamber, is my knowledge. When he says with knowledge, he means this is my wisdom.
And it's interesting you talked about the Ka and the Ba, because the life force like we talked about the vital spark, that was the energy that distinguished the living from the dead. Like when you think about spirit, for Egyptians, it was created at birth, separated from the body at death, and the Ka remained in the tomb with the mummy, and it required physical sustenance like bread and beer and offerings and stuff like that to survive. And that's why you see all the different offerings in there.
That sounds good, doesn't it? Yes.
So I see now your relation on the book about, the Great Pyramid, because I was wondering, because you talked about on the front of the book, it says Hall of Records.
Yes, that's the Hall of Records. Thank you for bringing that in, because the Hall of Records is what I'm telling you, really. It is a Hall of Records. Where is it? Everybody's looking on the Egypt and on the Giza Plateau or whatever, at the footpaw of the Sphinx. No, it's not physical. It's spiritual. It's inside all of us.
Like the Akastic records, right? They say that you can access them remotely through remote viewing. Or
as Carl Jung said, the collective unconscious.
Right.
Where all the archetypes come from. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
A lot of this sounds like very, people listen to this and think, oh, it's all very metaphysical. You call yourself an experiencer. Rob, do you have any other folks that you've talked to that experience some similar things?
Me?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead, please.
I finished. I want to hear yours.
Well, I know. I've had people who've had spiritual experiences. They don't quite know what to make of it. They've had personal epiphanies, and they seem to change their lives for like a year or two, and then they seem to go back into their old habits. I'm wondering, is this the only book you've written on this? Have you written other books?
I was told when I was down in the pit of death to write it down and let it out. And and all the time it was write it down and let it out. And I had this kept. I did exactly that. I saved it. My husband said to me when a few years afterwards, that's a different book.
Yes.
People will say, I said, people will say I'm crazy over here, especially we don't have know about UFOs and stuff. I said, keep it I said, I'm going to rip it up and throw it away. He said, don't you ever know? He said, you're going to leave that one. And I leave, he said, that was strange. And he passed away a couple of years ago, actually. And so I decided to get going with it, and it's only since I've all these podcasts, half a dozen odd that I've had in the US and Canada, whatever, that is telling me that I feel as if I belong to you. This is where I belong, because in the UK, they just say you need your medication, and you've not been taking it and everything. So you stay quiet. So the only thing I thought I had to do with write it down and let it out is to put it out in the book. This is my first book of about this.
So I mean, has it changed you permanently? Is your life now fundamentally different after this experience?
Absolutely different. I feel as if my consciousness is wider. My consciousness doesn't want just this material world anymore. It's beyond that, It's the things on this planet, they're sort of like nothing really. They need to know about everything else. It's like as if I've opened another dimension, another part of my consciousness.
And do you think that's because of the higher vibrational meditation type of things that you've been doing that help you access that?
Yeah, absolutely. This initiation ceremony has changed my life forever. What I didn't understand what it was, but I definitely knew there was something more than what we think there is. Absolutely. And I
was going to say, is there one thing that you want people to take from your book?
Yeah.
I like them to read my book and if they've had something like that happen to them themselves, and then start thinking about the Great Pyramid in maybe, that's the way that it's going to happen, is because the Great Pyramid is structured to complete your, to press together and remind you, like remembrance, what you've got inside you. And that's the way I see it. It's it happened with this initiation, started the whole roll of everything. I had no way of stopping it. And
kind of an alignment, right? An actual physical.
Why you though? Why did you think this happened to you in particular?
I didn't know at all. I was just told to write it down and let it out.
No, I mean the experiences. Why do you think you were chosen?
Why was I chosen? I have no idea. I'm hoping and thinking there's probably thousands of others that have had it happen to them. Maybe they just haven't had I want to say the guts or something to write it down and let it out. I've been with this for many years, and I was determined I was going to let it out at some time. I could not pass away until I wrote it down, because I knew there was something important in it, because it changed me, so it will change everybody else, if they want.
Jen, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your book with everybody. Over the 60-minute mark now, but you want to give a shout out to where people can find your work? Are you on Amazon, or where can people find your work?
Yes, I hope so. So I want to help them. That's all it is, really. It's to share it, so that, because they've got it in them as well. I know everybody on the planet, everybody that has been on the planet.
Yes, I've got a link to where people can find your work on the bottom of the ticker. Thank you again for being on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. Rob, do you want to give a shout out to where folks can find you?
Oh, they can just go to Amazon. All my books are at Amazon, or from Muted Press, or Simon & Schuster.
Okay. Well, thank you again, everybody. Everybody follow Rob Shelsky and Jen Hann. Check out their work. You're going to love it. Okay, we're going to leave you with some Bar Team Rock.
Guided by love, the spirit's unbound. The boots on the ground team, forever proud.